very serious today. This is a very serious video. We're talking about a serious topic. We're talking about rhythm. Rhythm and music are essentially synonymous. I'm 90% sure I used the word synonymous correctly. Rhythm and music are the same thing. So to help you in your pursuit to make quality music, I am going to give you, let me see what I called this video, 5 tips for practicing and improving rhythm. My name is Stuart. Let's get started. Tip number 1. Tap, speak, or sing rhythms before you play them. You need to know what the rhythms sound like before you actually play them. Otherwise, your fingers are not going to stand a chance getting the notes and the rhythms and everything all together. So let's pick a dumb song as an example. Everyone's favorite, Baby Shark. It's like a joke that's like 3 years too old for me to be using for this, but whatever. It's got an interesting rhythm. Baby shark, do 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 do. Oh, I'm embarrassed now that I'm singing it. I feel like it's a baby song. I can't use that as an example. Jingle bells, holiday classic. Jingle bells, jingle all the way there. That's not embarrassing at all. I feel much better. So we've all been singing this song for like our whole lives. Not all of us, some of us. Some of us have been singing this our whole lives. Others just since we were 2. Or since we were 17, or never sung the song in our lives. Doesn't matter. I'm getting off track. Like I said, serious video for a serious topic. Most of us are familiar with this song, but have all of us played this on guitar? No. So our hands are not used to juggling the right notes over here and the right strings over here, but we can sing the rhythm pretty easily. Jingle bells, jingle bells. All right. Now, can we get that rhythm into our hands without having to worry about all the notes on the guitar? Let's try it. Hey, that was pretty good. So now our hands know what the rhythm feels like, and it's going to be much easier to add the notes. Now, this is a pretty simple example, jingle bells, but let's take one that's a little bit less obvious. How about the guitar part to Time of Your Life by Green Day? Goes a little something like this. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. I've got chords, I've got this crazy rhythm over here, but can you hear that main rhythm is going bonka banka bonky bonky banky bonky bonky banky bonky bonky banky bonky. There, I'm singing it. I made up those words myself. Bangy bunky bunky. You can use them if you want. Just if you use those lyrics when you're singing the song, give me credit for it, please, because I wrote those. Bonky banky bonky bonky banky bonky bonky banky bonky. I'll slow it down a little bit. Bonky banky bonky bonky banky bonky bonky banky bonky. Feels ridiculous, but this singing the rhythm before you even attempt to play it on guitar is so useful. It gets it so you hear the rhythm and not just try to magically make your hands do it. Can we tap that rhythm? Let's sing it and tap it at the same time. Bonky banky bonky bonky banky bonky bonky banky bonky bonky banky bonky banky bonky 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 banky bonky bonky banky bonky bonky banky bonky. Now it's not like tapping the rhythm is going to magically make it so you can play it, but it's going to get you started feeling the right rhythm. Otherwise, you're just guessing what the rhythm is going to be when you play it. Let's take another kind of complicated example. Black Dog by Led Zeppelin. It goes a little something like this. That one, there's a lot of stuff going on with that song. There's a lot of different rhythms. It doesn't repeat constantly like Time of Your Life. And the notes go by so quickly in this song that it's hard to even hear what's happening. Like, sure, yeah, we can't play it yet, but I don't even know if I'd be able to tap or sing this rhythm after just hearing it a couple times because it's just going by so quickly. which brings us to tip number 2. Slow it down. This is a tip many of you, I'm sure, have heard before. Slow it down. It's great advice. Practice slowly. I say that every day of my life, literally dozens of times. Slow it down. Practice slowly. But that's way easier said than done. In fact, I would argue that practicing rhythms slowly can feel harder than playing them at the normal speed. So I'm going to give you a very, very specific and practical way to slow down. It is not to use a metronome. Metronomes are great, but they're also terrible and horrible. And if you don't know how to use a metronome, if you're not used to it, a metronome is really going to screw you up. When you're practicing slowly by yourself, oftentimes rhythm can just go out the window. You just don't even have a concept of what rhythm's going on anymore because it's just dragging by. So here is what I order you to do. Whatever song you are working on, pull it up on YouTube, go to settings, go to playback speed, and set it to 75% speed. You can try half speed. Half speed can be good for certain songs, but it also starts sounding really gnarly at half speed. But I really want you to practice things at 75% on YouTube. Then, don't try to play along with it immediately. Play the song, listen to it, and try to sing the rhythm. Try to sing the rhythm along with the recording. If you're self-conscious about singing out loud, you can tap the rhythm along with it. Don't try to play the notes of the song until you can successfully speak, sing, or tap the rhythm slowed down to 75% speed on YouTube. I know I'm kind of mixing up tip 1 and 2 a little bit, but believe it or not, all these tips fit together. That's enough of tip number 2. I had to look at my little clipboard over here, and I have no other important notes for tip number 2. Slow it down, specifically on YouTube. Listen to it, slow down. That'll be great. I guess maybe we should move on to tip number 3. Does that sound like a good idea? Let's do it. Tip number 3. Isolate short sections of songs or exercises, short little sections. Let's go back to Black Dog. Even if we listen to this slowed down to 75% speed, we're hearing the rhythms, we're trying to sing along with it. By the time you start playing it, this is long enough that when you get to the end, your fingers and your ears are kind of going to forget exactly what the rhythm of the beginning is supposed to sound like. So when I say isolate short sections, that means instead of trying to play the whole song or the whole section all the way through, so many notes, just take one little fragment. Let's start with 4 notes. Let's go. Let's just do that. First 4 notes of the song. So for me, that's pretty easy, which is great. It means I can really get good at that first part, and I can be confident I'm playing the rhythm right. I might put on the recording, slow down if I want, wait for that part, and just nail those first 4 notes. But then maybe there's another part later on. Maybe there's a part that goes, maybe that part's really tough for me. I don't need to start at the beginning of the riff every time I play it. Let me just find that short little section that's giving me problems and just play that part multiple times in a row. This one's good because I can just keep the beat going while I practice this tiny little part. Maybe the most infamous part of any song that requires just isolating one tiny little spot to get the rhythm right is going from the third chord to the fourth chord of Stairway to Heaven. First chord to the second chord, no problem. Third chord to the fourth one, that right there. Whoa, where am I? That switch is so hard. What you'll hear people do all the time right there is they'll play the first chord, second chord, third chord, fourth chord. The rhythm disappears going from the third to the fourth chord. So I like to just practice that tiny little part. I might slow it down a whole lot. And I don't practice it until I get it right once. I practice it until I get it right, like, I don't know, 8 times in a row. And then the next day, I'll practice just that part again. Here is the mother lode of all practice tips. Do not. Wait, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Oh, right. The mother lode of all practice tips. When you first grab your instrument to practice, the first thing you play, go straight to a difficult part of something you're working on. You do not need to start at the beginning of the song, even when it is your first time practicing for the day. You should, on your music, on what you're going to practice, you should have circled the most difficult part that you know you need to focus on and get to that part right away. Everybody can play the beginning of songs really well because you always start there. So what if you start at the hard part? Then you'll actually be great at that hard part of the song. That applies to pretty much everything, not just rhythm. But we'll wrap back around. Isolate short sections of songs. I feel like I went off the rails on this third tip. I started talking about all kinds of stuff. Started talking about Stairway to Heaven. I wasn't planning on doing that. It just kind of started happening. Let's go to tip number 4. Tip number 4 is the biggest, broadest, stupidest one. But this is a little bit of extra encouragement in case you were considering doing this anyway. Tip number 4 is learn to count and or read rhythms. This is a big one. This doesn't really qualify as a tip. This is more just like I'm lecturing you and giving you advice of something you should focus on over the coming years. When I say learn to count or read rhythms, I mean learn to count the kind of traditional way and learn to read standard notation for reading rhythms. Reading the actual notes, like, okay, there's an A note, there's a B note, and here's a chord, and there's a treble clef and bass clef and all that stuff. That's great. That's useful. I think it's a good idea. On guitar, on ukulele, it's maybe not as important as it is on some other instruments. If you play saxophone, it's probably basically mandatory that you learn to read notes and learn to read traditional standard notation for music. For guitar, you can do a whole lot without reading all those notes, but what I do recommend is that you learn to read rhythms. I'm talking eighth notes, half notes, whole notes, triplets, dotted quarter notes, all that stuff. I'm not going to show you any of that right now. This is just pushing you in that direction. You can go and find other resources for that. But what I want you to do before you even worry too much about learning to read standard notation rhythms, I would like you to be able to do some basic counting with your playing. What do I mean by that? Let's play Can't Help Falling in Love as performed by Elvis Presley. The guitar part with the strumming goes a little something like this. Easy. You can do that in your sleep. You literally fell asleep last night playing that song. Can we count along with it? Let's try it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This song's in 3/4 time. That means there are 3 beats for each measure, 1 chord per measure. Each strum gets 1 beat. I was counting each beat. This is not I'm not really telling you how to do this. I'm just showing you what I mean. Let's move on to something more complicated. Time of Your Life by Green Day. That strumming is more active, more complicated. There's more to it. It's in 4/4 time. The counting for that would be 1, 2, and 4 and 1, 2, and 4 and. Well, that's kind of weird. That maybe wasn't as simple as Can't Help Falling in Love. What about Black Dog by Led Zeppelin? Well, that one's quite a bit different. Check this out. That one's going to be and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and triplet 1. That is a lot of counting. That can take a lot of practice. What's a good place to start? I think that Can't Help Falling in Love is a good place to start. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When I say count while you play, when you're starting off, I literally mean count out loud. I don't trust you to just count in your head. This tip kind of sucked. Not gonna lie, because I didn't really tell you really what to do. I told you to go and figure it out on your own, which is a pretty crappy thing for me to do here. So you know what? I quit. Tip number 5. You're rehired. Always practice everything with rhythm. That sounds like a throwaway joke tip. It sounds like I'm telling you, and then go out in the world and be your own true self, which is a great idea. You should do it. But I'm actually being very specific and very literal right here. Every time you practice with rhythm. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you're practicing going from a G chord to a D chord. It's very tempting to just play the G, and then, take your time, trying to figure out how to get to the D. There we go, there's the D, and then when you're ready, you play it. Great, I did it. I practiced going from G to D. Fantastic. But we could add some rhythm to that and make it so much more effective. And I don't mean add a specific rhythm. I don't mean play a complicated strumming pattern. We don't even need to know how many beats it's going to take to get from the G to the D. What I mean is I want you to just keep a pulse going with your body and in your head while you play. G, then get ready, switch to the D chord, play. Then maybe switching back to the G takes a little bit longer, but I keep the pulse going the whole time. G chord. So that didn't make it any harder. I wasn't forcing myself to switch faster. I was just taking my time with those 2 chords, but I was feeling rhythm in my body the whole time. We love to practice scales and chords and riffs, and we think about how many notes can we play, and we try to memorize things, and that's all great. It's an important part of music, but it's all nothing without the rhythm. This is a secret. Music is rhythm, and rhythm is music. It's not a secret at all. I said it at the beginning of the video. But if you don't practice rhythm all of the time, you are doing a disservice to yourself and all the people that you play with and all the people that hear you play, because rhythm is what makes all the other elements of music work. I feel like these last few tips have gotten a little nebulous. They're still good, but they lost some of their focus and some of their tipness. So let's close it up by reining it in to this one specific way to practice tip number 5. While you are practicing everything with rhythm, tap your foot. You just tap your foot. Try to keep a consistent rhythm while you play. You can tap your foot slowly, you can tap it fast, it might even fluctuate a little bit, no big deal, but our goal is just to feel a rhythmic pulse whenever we're playing anything. I'm not sentencing you to a lifetime of tapping your foot every time you play. Eventually, you'll be able to feel that pulse in your head without moving your foot, but I still tap my foot a ton of the time. It's a good time. Guys, I forgot about the most important tip. This is the tip that made me want to make this video in the first place, and I didn't even include it in the list of 5 tips. So this is bonus tip number 6. You could call it a bonus tip, you could call it number 6, you could call it what I just called it, bonus tip number 6. Whatever you want. Point is, this is a good one. This one's kind of a weird one, but it works very well. When you are trying to play something fast, I would like you to play it twice slowly, and then without stopping, play it twice 2 times faster. Let's say you're practicing the A minor pentatonic scale. This guy right here. And you want to get faster at it. All right, pick a slow speed. If you have a metronome, that might be helpful, but if you're not ready for metronome, no problem. Pick a slow speed. Boom, boom, boom. That speed right there. I'm feeling that pulse. I'm tapping my foot. You can't see it, but it's happening. I'm going to play it slowly twice. Then I'm going to do it double speed twice. Just be patient. I'm going to do it again slowly. Be patient. Here we go. Then go slow again. That little cycle of doing it slow and then twice as fast, back to slow, twice as fast, it really, really reinforces the rhythm and it pushes you to learn it a little bit faster than you might otherwise. That same scale, if I wanted to do it really fast, I could just have the slow speed be faster. All right, the double speed's coming up. Let's see if I can do it. That works so well for learning scales, for switching chords, for learning finger picking patterns. So that tip's a little bit different. That's not as broad a tip, but you know what? We gotta learn all kinds of tips. That's what I always say. I say to everybody all the time. You gotta learn all kinds of tips. Rhythm, music, power, peace, love, happiness, horcrux.